Welcome back to Heart and Chops. Today, I'm making roasted cremini mushrooms stuffed with a Har Gow-inspired shrimp dumpling filling. Har Gow basically translates to shrimp dumpling in Cantonese. Let's get started. This filling will fill approximately 2 pounds of cremini mushrooms, give or take. Take the stem off the mushroom and put pressure on it from one side so it pops out, and then remove the little spongy veil from around the inside of the cap. The best way to do this is to use the tip of a small, thin teaspoon to separate the veil from the cap. Trim all the mushrooms and place them in a tinfoil-lined baking sheet. Add a sprinkle of salt and a modest drizzle of oil. I used grapeseed, but any oil with a high smoke point will do. And toss to distribute before arranging them all cap side down. Roast the mushrooms in the oven at 375 for 10 minutes before flipping them and roasting another 5 to 10 minutes depending on the size of your mushrooms. The mushrooms should have released some of their juices and they'll look browner, and your kitchen will hopefully be filled with a lovely scent of roasted mushrooms when you open the oven. Remove them to a plate and set aside to cool, pouring out any excess moisture from the cups if any has accumulated. More moisture might accumulate later while they're cooling, which you can also pour out. While you're roasting the mushrooms, get started on your filling. Remember, set a timer on the mushrooms because you'll be doing 2 things at once. For this recipe, I am using 288 grams of shrimp, 50 grams of pork fatback, 30 grams of bamboo shoots, 30 grams of shallots, 17 grams of ginger, 20 grams of Shaoxing wine, 9 grams of soy sauce, 5 grams of sugar, 3 grams of MSGizzle, 6 grams of wheat starch, 2 grams of kosher salt, and a tiny pinch of white pepper, about a gram. Finely mince the pork fatback, bamboo shoots, ginger, and shallot. Roughly chop the shrimp and then chop them more finely until the mixture resembles a coarse paste. A few chunks are okay. Combine all these ingredients into a bowl, adding the salt, pepper, and starch last, tossing until the mixture is homogeneous. Full disclosure, I cooked this recipe 3 times for this video, but the second time I added in some chopped cilantro to the filling because I thought it would look nicer on camera. They turned out pretty, but it was a mistake, and the flavors didn't quite work as nicely as I'd hope. I think if you wanted to add a little bit of green to this recipe, you could sprinkle some herbs on top afterwards if that's your jam, but even when I did that in another attempt to make things look nice on camera, it looked and tasted like overkill to me. I encourage you to do some experimenting on your own if you feel like you need to add green things. Whether or not you change this recipe, when you try it yourself, do put a little spoonful of the filling into a little bowl and microwave it for about 20 seconds or so, and then taste for seasoning. If you feel things are off, add a little bit more of this or that. Be patient. When things feel right, lay the mushrooms out in a baking dish. I used a ceramic Le Creuset here, and use a couple of teaspoons to spoon the filling into each mushroom. The filling is sticky and pretty forgiving, so don't be afraid to pile things high. For a variation on this, try stuffing some filling into a half avocado. I promise you won't regret it. When you're done stuffing them, put them back in the oven at 375 until the filling is set and firm when you pinch it. I tried a few different ways of plating these up. I added some homemade chili oil, which I think would be better served on the side instead of drizzled on top, as I really think you want to experience the first few bites without it. Ultimately, the best way to serve them I found was a simple brush of sesame oil over the top for sheen, a sprinkle of toasted sesame, and a sprinkle of salt. Here I'm using some fancy black lava salt a good friend brought me from Iceland. The extra sprinkle of salt really complements the unctuousness of the pork fat and the sweetness of the shrimp. And in the avocado version, there's a warm, creamy bottom to combine it all with, which was super good. That combination was an unexpected win, since I don't normally like cooked avocado, so I hope you give this a try.
Shouldn't you, sit in front of the camera and stop being so camera shy?
No.